And welcome to papastache 102. So we've been talking about inversions. Let's take it a step further and actually apply it to rhythm. You know, that thing that actually will get you the gig. Because we spend so much of our time learning, songs and all that other stuff. When it comes time to create music, if we have an understanding of the fretboard, what's great is we can create parts if we know the inversions all over the neck that might be the same exact chord progression, but we can play the chords in a different spot, get cool sounds, add effects, and suddenly we have parts that work with our band situation or whatever it is that we're doing that really, really helps out. If you want help with soloing, click the link below. That's all about melodic blues soloing, so check out that video. That is not on YouTube. As for this lesson, let's zoom in for a closer look. All right, so we've been spending all this time, soloing and such, which is fun, right? But I often, or sometimes, neglect the skill or the asset that will actually get you a gig, and that's playing rhythm guitar. Now, we can use what we've been learning about with these inversions for our soloing and to help us see the fretboard in a new way, definitely when it comes to rhythm as well. And two things happen. I would say if you first start to apply this with the songs that you already know, any of the chord progressions you already know, and you start to figure out the inversions all over the necks rhythm-wise, it'll totally help you in your lead playing because then it'll just reinforce that knowledge of seeing chords all over the neck. So let me give you an example. If we're doing... Okay, now in a two-guitar band, that's totally legit for one of the guitar players. A lot of times a singer will be a guitar player, and they're, singing, which is freaking hard in itself. So they're playing maybe a more simple, chord progression, or not chord progression, but way to play a progression, unless you're freaking one of those people that I can't understand how you exist where you can play really good and sing really good at the same time, like freaking Brad Paisley's and these Keith Urban cats. But anyway, so if we take A, G, D, same feel. We could take just say the E version of the chord, right? So the one we know and love, and just play that, right? Now that in itself, if there's two guitar players, even if you're playing the same rhythm, but you play the chords in different spots in the neck, it'll immediately make the band sound bigger. Now you could... playing the same kind of feel, if I slow it down. One more time. And do that, automatically we have something that would sound and stand out from our initial. Okay, so. Right? That would totally exist in the same space with the other guitar player. Totally work. That's just the E inversion, okay? We could do the same thing with, and you could play the higher part, right here. We could do that as well. We could, you know, slide into it. Do that kind of stuff. Same inversion, but you're playing the higher part of the strings, right? The D, the G, the B, and the E. Instead of concentrating on the lower part of the chord, which I just did in the previous example. You could also use a combo of the two. So we could start off, let's say, with the A. We could go to the D version of the G chord. And then we could go to a three-note version of our D chord. So we got A, the E version of it, the D version of the G, and then go more to this A version, but the top 3 strings for that part. Same thing. Check it out. Right now I'm changing it up a little bit, adding a little bit of excitement, adding suspended notes. When I go down here, we all know what a D suspended fourth is down here. Well, if I do it up here, it's a G suspended fourth. Go to here. Right? You could do all that with that D chord. So that's the 7th fret of the G and the B, and then the 5th fret of the E. I can flatten it out. Do all 7th fret, go back, and then drop off my pinky and cover 5 and 5 on the B and E, and hit basically that chord, right? That version of the D. And then I'm right back where I need to be for my A. Okay, we could do another really close cluster of inversions would be the A chord here, G. Okay, from the G chord right here. So we got D, back to A. Okay? Now you could go right and hit 2 inversions. So we've used the same rhythmic pattern, but since you're doing different inversions, it spices it up a little bit, right? Because we're all used to... Right, so that in itself is great. I mean, get those, you know, classic rock, just on your fingers, right? We're using parts of the scale. Right, all that stuff you're using, you know, your A major pentatonic to spice up your rhythm down there, which is great. But we probably are more familiar, and if you're like me, I've done that to death. So now when I can jam with friends and stuff like that, and there's singers maybe holding down that groove, that real powerful, big sounding, strummy part, I can come up higher on the neck and separate myself from his part, maybe come in on a different part of the beat. So I'm playing, you know, not only am I playing in a different spot of the neck, but my rhythm part is a little bit different than his or hers, let's say. And then you start to really build this big thing. Now, also, if you're the only guitar player in the band, That's one of the cool ways that you can take the same chord progression. A lot of songs today, they don't even change the chord progression. But what you can do is you can change the inversions as this song goes by. So maybe the verse is down here. Or let's say the verse is one of the higher inversions. Right? And then you're... And then when you go to your chorus, it's the real big... is more of that thing, right? So it's a 2-for-1 special. If you're a 2-guitar player band, you're going to start to break away from both players playing the same part to where you're playing the same chords, but you're playing them in a different spot, so it sounds bigger. It also opens you up to doing, right? You can do different you can do like, you know, add echo and do or sorry, G. Right? Maybe a different part that goes along with it that adds an effect or something like that. And now it's this other part. You can just keep it really sparse, you know, add some echo and maybe a little tremolo. Right? And then... So basically what's happening is you're creating these other parts that go along with what your band is doing, or, you know, you've recorded some tracks, let's say in GarageBand or Pro Tools, you want to fatten it up, add some extra stuff. That's one way that you can do it. It's playing with inversions all over the neck to get you the same chord progression but different sounds within that chord progression. The added benefit of that is once you start seeing where those inversions are all over the neck, man, and ladies, I promise you your soloing capabilities will skyrocket, because then right underneath your fingers as you're flying through your, you know, pentatonic or whatever you're doing, you're going to, oh my God, there's that chord inversion. I can bam right there to that, you know, those target notes in the A. Right there's my G. Back to my A. And I didn't even really move around, right? I didn't have to go anywhere. And I saw my chord shapes. My A to G to my D. Back to my A, right? So we can use inversions all over the neck to really make our playing, you know, blossom. So give that a shot. Yes! Way to go. Excuse the jet. If you're new to the channel, always check in the description box below. There's links in there. There's a link always to a video that is not on YouTube. Today is melodic blues soloing. There's also papastache.com down there. That's the stuff where I teach you my style of teaching, right? So I'm teaching you how to play guitar from ground zero to like level 25 out of 100. I don't know. You know, basically beginner to good, intermediate, some advanced in there. And then over there is Papastache Pop. There's another 570 videos over there. So if you're wanting a top 40, you know, country pop gig, it's your ticket to ride. Other than that, if you want to support the cause, by all means, share the videos and tell your friends about the channels. That would be awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for the continued support. We'll catch you next time.